let's start with the really basics of threat modeling. These are just the questions from the current threat modeling manifesto. It more or less summarizes of what we expect from threat modeling. So we expect to answer the questions: what are we working on, what can go wrong, what are we going to do about it, and have we done a good enough job. But in the practice, then we have tools to execute the answering of these questions, right? We have threat modeling methodologies. And most of these methodologies, they are executing the answers of these questions into very common things. So usually a lot of threat modeling methodologies will create a diagram to talk about what are we working on, right? It could be a story, it could be a list of functions, but we usually end up with a diagram, right? Then what can go wrong? This is usually a list of threats. Sometimes they are attached to the elements in the system, attached to the elements on the diagram. But generally, this is a list of threats. And then what are we going to do about it? This is mostly an action, a recommendation, mitigation strategy, mitigation action, right? And this is usually connected with particular threats. And well, if we did a good enough job, this is more or less repeating the process one more time. So what happens is that we have this representation of the system. We make a list of threats. Then for some of these threats, we assign some actions, because some of them we just deprioritize and we don't care about them. And then we repeat because we just need to care about less threats than before, right? So that's more or less what we do with threat modeling. And we also expect from these threat modeling methodologies to serve some purpose and to have some actionable output. So in order to have actionable output, we want to have this registry of threats. We want to have a kind of document or a list or a table. Sometimes this is in a tool, in a CI/CD tool, for example, in Jira, or there are some custom tools, products to actually make lists of threats and log them and action the output, right? We also expect clear action, granularity of those threats. So that we don't end up in very generic threats, like just five stride threads, right? Sorry, 6 stride threads, or we expect some granularity. So we want to have a lot of threads in that table so that we can do something about them, right? And in that table, probably we have some other columns. We want to assign some priority, scope of a particular product or an element of the system, right? We can assign a risk, potential risk, to the potential threat, right? And then we can have responsible people for that. We want to have some definition of done. So if we assign an action to mitigate a threat, we want to have someone being responsible for that, and we want to define if that threat was actioned or not, right? Some measurements of success. And then comes like a lot of automation, statistics, common threats, because this happens a lot. So common components share the same threats, right? If we have 10 systems and each of them consumes some, I don't know, AWS S3 buckets, they share common threats. So it's good to stack the base threat models and apply just the previous actions that we designed for very similar products, right?